The morning she told me I couldn't live on my own land, I was standing beneath my father's flag with a mug of black coffee, listening to the creek talk to the cottonwoods. Thin fog was lifting. The old barn roof threw back a copper glow. Then a golf cart skidded to a stop at my gravel, 2 wheels on the asphalt, 2 in the ditch. A woman with a clipboard sat up straight like she was posing for a courtroom portrait. "You can't live here," she said. "No hello, no good morning. Not until you bring this property into compliance." I breathed the way my dad taught Measlo, through the nose, like dialing down a furnace. Set my mug on the post, he sunk himself in 79 and looked across 10 acres we cleared by hand. "Ma'am, this property isn't in your HOA." She smiled like she'd already won. "Everything on the east side of Willow Trace is covered by our covenants. You're east." I walked to the fence, tapped the metal survey cap set in the soil, bright as a new penny. "County line puts me 52 feet outside your boundary. Got a plat inside if you'd like to see it." She didn't want to see anything. She wanted to be seen. She started rattling violations like missed homework. Fence height. Unapproved shed color as if cedar's natural age needed permission. A non-conforming flagpole, like there's a wrong way to honor where you come from. "And that RV," she added, pointing at my son's Airstream by the barn. "No overnight occupancy allowed." "My boy lived in that 2 summers while framing houses in town," I said. "He's married now. In Idaho, that trailer's retired." She scribbled harder, ink carving paper. Then she marched up my drive like she owned it. Heat rose in my chest. Not anger exactly, but that old protective feeling when a stranger reaches for a family photo without asking. "Stop right there," I said. "Private property." "I'm posting notice," she said, slapping a yellow sheet on my fence like a badge. "You have 14 days. I peeled it off, calm. "You can take this back." Her eyes narrowed. "Refusal to comply will result in fines and legal action. We've had problems with people like you people who think rules don't apply." I looked at the barn, the flag, the ring of stones where my dad taught me to build a fire without smothering it. "My father could draw this boundary from memory," I said. "He knew every root and rock. Your rules were recorded across the road. Not here." She leaned in. "Then we'll fix the paperwork." She drove off. The creek kept speaking. The flag cracked soft in the breeze. I picked up my coffee cool now, still gadanned, felt the weight of a promise. Dad used to say, "Land is quieter than people, but it remembers louder." I ran my fingers along that post and found the groove his hammer left. Felt like a handshake from a man who never stepped sideways by lunch. 2 envelopes waited in my mailbox. 1 regular, 1 certified. The regular was polite menace. The certified was theater. Fines growing like weeds for each day of known compliance. Unlawfully altered exterior appearance without architectural approval. Flagpole 8 feet too tall. I laughed at the counter not because it was funny, but because whoever wrote it had never stood in my yard and measured a life by anything other than inches. I pulled the deed from my binder. The survey from its sleeve. The plat showed a hard black line. The HOA tract cross-hatched west of the county road. I traced my parcel with a highlighter like a kid outlining a favorite picture, then called the number and asked for the president. "This is Karen," she said, voice sharp enough to cut paper. "This is the property owner from this morning," I said. "I've got my deed and survey. Happy to show you either, but I won't comply with rules that don't apply." She exhaled. "Sir, I'm trying to keep our community in order." "So am I," said. "My community starts at my fence." Click. That evening I watched the light crawl up the trunks until it sat on the top branches like a crown. Thought of my father's rope-scarred hands. The day he set the first post, told me to bring the level, and told me to put it down and just look until straight felt like the only thing that made sense. A whip-poor, Will called. Somewhere up the road, a leaf blower fought its own impatience. At dawn, a truck idled at my drive. Yellow strobes turned the cottonwoods into flipbook pages. A tow driver stood with his hands in his pockets, already sorry. "Ma'am says it's a violation," he muttered, nodding toward the road where Karen's golf cart gleamed like a beetle. "It's not her road," I said. "And that's not her trailer," he shrugged. "You call the sheriff? Or I do?" "I'll call," I said. This had crossed from nuisance into nonsense. While we waited, Karen crossed her arms and smiled that courtroom smile. The creek talked. The flag moved. The old slow burn rose steady, like a stove you bank because you plan to cook breakfast. The deputy wore his hat like it belonged on him. He listened. Twice. I showed him deed survey plat. He traced the line with his finger and nodded. "Ma'am," he said to Karen, "this parcel isn't part of your association." "What?" "It should be," she snapped. "Maybe," he said, "but it isn't." He turned to the tow driver. "You're leaving without that trailer." When they cleared out, the deputy glanced at my flag. "My dad flew one like that," he said. "Mine too." He tipped his hat. "If she calls again, we'll come. You might ask the county for something official. I will." When his cruiser rolled away, the morning felt clean again. Coffee tasted right. The creek sounded like memory. And under all of it, a line had been drawn twice once in the soil by someone who meant it. And once in me by someone who didn't. I knew which one would hold. 2 days later, she escalated from letters to theater. I came home to a laminated sign zip-tied across my drive: "Community property, no unauthorized access." 2 metal stakes pounded into my gravel. HOA logo stenciled like a seal could turn trespass into permission. I clipped the ties. Set the sign against the fence like a stray someone would claim. That night, 3 emails: final notice, intent to levy fines, architectural review denied. I replied to each with the same scan my plat. Bright arrow, not in your HOA, morning brought a county truck. Clipboard, code enforcement badge. Polite, tired eyes. Complaint about an unpermitted accessory dwelling and unapproved fencing, he said. "Walk with me," I said. We traced the fence line like neighbors. Survey caps. The barn. Airstream, gathering dust. The creek. The cottonwood where my old dog rests under bark that peels like paper. He nodded. Taking photos because his day required proof. "This isn't in the HOA," he said. "County code, not their CC&Rs. Barn's older than I am. You're fine." We were nearly done when Karen squealed up. "Don't let him sweet-talk you," she snapped. "He's ignored notices for weeks." The officer tapped his badge. "Ma'am, this is county. That is private land. If you have a boundary concern, take it to the recorder's office." Her mouth pinched. "We're in the process of annexation. Our bylaws allow after-acquired property." He looked at me. I shrugged. He turned back. "Annexation requires petition, notice, signatures, recording. Has that happened?" "We're working on it, till it has," he said. "This man's land is his." She sped off. The officer tucked his tablet away, half apology, half warning. "She'll keep pushing," he said. "Some folks can't imagine not getting the last word." "That's all right," I said. "I've got time." That afternoon stopped by with snickerdoodles and the news I needed. She worked years at the county clerk's office. Knows paper trails like hunters, no tracks. She tried filing last year, said, settling into a porch chair like it was hers. Bounced. No legal description. No consent from adjoining owners. No commission approval. If she says annexation again, she's selling fog. Dot patted my hand. "Your daddy taught my boys to fish. We're not letting a clipboard rewrite that." We ate cookies while the creek stitched the afternoon together. I thought about Dad's jar of nails, how he'd straighten bent ones on the anvil and save them because someday you'd need just one more. Fix what's bent. Keep what's good. Don't waste a thing. If there was going to be a fight, it wouldn't be a brawl. It would be careful hammering toward truth. I called the title company for a boundary letter. Called County GIS for an overlay with parcel lines and HOA boundaries. Printed 3 copies of everything and slid them into sleeves. Called the sheriff to ask how to document harassment without turning it into a circus. Keep records, the receptionist said. Dates, times, pictures. If she steps onto your land, call. 2 evenings later, I found Karen straddling my ditch, measuring tape singing. "You're on my side," she said. "I'm on my side," I said. "You're on my side too." She flinched. "You're making this hard. Lines are lines," I said. "They don't move to make people comfortable." She pointed at the flag. "That pole is a provocation. It's a memory," I said. "And a promise, I'll see you in court. I'll bring the map." After she left, Larry Dot's husband dambled over with 2 folding chairs and lemonade. "Heard the screech," he said, setting up like we were waiting on fireworks. "Sometimes a judge is the only referee both teams hear." "I don't want to fight," I said. "I know," he said. "But I think you've got one." Next morning I filed for a declaratory judgment. Dry words for a simple truth. Tell the court to tell the world the boundary is the boundary. My lawyer, green quiet voice, boots under her suit, pants read my binder and nodded. "Clean facts," she said. "Messy feelings?" She called a tow truck for my boy's trailer, I said, throat tight. "He learned to swing a hammer in that thing. We'll turn feelings into facts where we can," she said. "Photos, notices, calls. The rest the judge will feel in the room." Before we ever saw a courtroom, Karen pushed harder. A thick cease and desist on fancy paper. Told the mail carrier I was squatting. Told the neighbor across the road men like me ruin communities. I told the creek what I couldn't tell anyone else, that part of me wanted to shout and scorch the grass. But anger burns fast and leaves a cold that's hard to warm. Dad didn't raise me to set fires I couldn't put out, so I stacked winter wood. Mowed in patient circles. Waved at every passerby like kindness might circle back to her. The letters kept coming. The flag kept moving. The creek kept whispering patience older than both of us. The call came on a Saturday crisp as an apple. I was fixing the barn door hinge that creaks at the exact note my wife says sounds like a summer screen door. 2 squad cars rolled, slow down Willow Trace, lights off, turned into my drive, like men arriving somewhere they'd rather not be. "Morning," the first deputy said. "Same hat? Maybe the same man?" "Report of illegal occupancy and a public safety concern." Karen idled at the road in her golf cart, like a queen sending knights to fetch a head. "Mind if we take a look?" he asked. "Mind if we do it with coffee?" I said, "Kindness is armor." We poured cups on the porch. I set the binder out like a guest book. "Here's the deed. Survey pins there and there." I pointed across the yard. "County GIS overlay." Slid the color map. "Title letter parcel, not encumbered by any HOA declaration." The second deputy sipped and nodded. "We've seen this before," he said. "Lines don't get blurry." "People do." "Lines get loud," I said. "They don't get blurry." We walked to the Airstream. I opened the door. Bare mattress, empty cabinets, save a tin of screws and 2 pencil nubs. Smelled like dust and possibility. "No one's lived here since last year?" I said. "You can write your name in the dust." He did, grinning. "Fair enough." We were wrapping when Karen marched down with 2 board members flanking her. "Are you going to remove this man?" she demanded. "No, ma'am," the deputy said, gentle as he could. "He's on his land." "This is selective enforcement," she snapped. "Favoritism. It's a map," he said. "Maps don't play favorites." The second deputy turned to her. "Ma'am, if you keep calling 911 for civil disputes, that becomes its own problem. Save emergency lines for emergencies." She stared at me. For a blink, I saw the person under the posture tired. Afraid of losing the order she thought signs and rules could hold. For a heartbeat, I wanted to offer a porch chair and a cookie and a breath. Then she pointed at my flag like it insulted her. "He's grandstanding, and you're enabling it." The cruisers left. I logged the time, the conversation, the case number. Then I called Green. It's time. A week later, we sat in a courtroom that smelled like old books and patience. The judge listened like stacking bricks, fact on fact on fact. Green walked him through plat, deed, overlay. No bark, no belittling. Just the map until the room could see what the land had been saying all along. Karen's lawyer wore a thundercloud suit and tried to stretch the CC and Rs across the road like a rubber band. The judge let him tug it thin, then let go. Counselor, he said, there is no recorded annexation, no consent, no extension of the declaration to this parcel. Property rights are not aspirational. When he ruled, it sounded like a post set plumb and tamped tight. Declaratory judgment for me. Permanent injunction against the HOA enforcing rules on my land. Then he paused. Given the pattern of harassment and misuse of process, the court awards attorney's fees and costs to the plaintiff. It didn't feel like a horn blast. It felt like a cytokine you let out. When you finally set down a box you've carried too far, 2 nights later the board held a special meeting, and Larry brought lawn chairs. Half the neighborhood came ball caps, sandals, folks I'd waved at for years without learning names. Karen tried to gavel the room into obedience. A man in back stood. We were wrong, he said. We made it worse by doubling down. He looked at me. I'm sorry. Karen slammed the gavel so hard it jumped. We are not apologizing to someone who refused to follow the rules. A quiet, steady woman beside her took the gavel like you take a toy from a child about to break it. We are, she said. Because the rules weren't his. She turned to me. Sir, on behalf of the board, I'm sorry for the stress, the expense, and the disrespect. She faced the room. I moved to remove the president effective immediately. The vote wasn't close. Karen walked into the night without looking back. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired, then light. The settlement came a month later. The HOA cut a check for fees and damages. At Green's nudge and my request, they also funded a small scholarship at the high school for kids going into the trades. We named it after my father. The first recipient was a quiet girl who lays a straighter bead with a welder than most men twice her age. When she came to thank me, we stood at the fence and talked about steel, patience, and the way good work makes its own music the morning after the check cleared. I took my coffee to the porch and touched the flagpole like a shoulder I loved. The creek moved as always. The barn door creaked, that old romance note. The boundary didn't glow. It just existed the way true things do, without applause. Here's what I learned, neighbor. Rules matter, but only where they're supposed to. Lines matter not because they keep people out, but because they tell the truth about where things begin. Dad used to say, a straight fence makes for straight dealing. He was right. Sometimes it takes paper to make people see what the land's been saying all along. Have you ever stood up to an HOA or a neighbor who wouldn't hear reason? Share your story in the comments. I read every one. And if you believe some fights are worth having, hit subscribe and let's stand up together.